All right. Well, welcome. I am very excited. I'm Lorna Gale, and I am thrilled to be able to bring to you, to the Empower Network TV community, these amazing women here who have a wealth of experience, voices that are strong, and visions and missions that are very clear. And I'm excited to create this space for you, each of you, Jill and Sandy and Jennifer, for you to be able to share your message, tell about your story. As we go through our time together, I just have some questions, really unscripted. So we're really going to go with the flow here, and there will be some times. Now, Sandy, I know, are you able to be on for the duration? So, all right. So we're going to do things a little bit differently. I felt very strongly for Sandy to be in this interview. And interestingly, she's able to be on here until just before the top of the hour. And so I'm trusting the process. I really have come into this place of just really knowing that whatever shape it is, beyond what we think should be, or what's usual, it's just kind of just trusting the process. So really grateful for you to be here, each of you. So what I would like to do is to take a moment to give you time to tell maybe just a minute or two each, and just share a little bit about yourself, and just a little bit of an introduction. And I'm going to go into your story a little bit more. So just tell a little bit about who you are, aside from your story, even though sometimes that seems that our stories are us, and that's an integral part. And yet for this moment, I'm just going to invite you just to speak to who are you. And maybe what we'll do is let's go ahead with, I'm going to go by alphabetical today. So Jennifer, if you'll begin, please.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Lorna, for inviting us to be here with you today. I am a writer, a speaker, a teacher, a dreamer, a dog lover, a healer, and an artist. And I work with women who have been lost or have had great loss in their life, and I help them find their life wish and their purpose again.
Thank you, Jennifer. And Jill, we'll come to you now, please.
I am a prenatal medium and a dragon master and a writer. And I love cats, but I love dogs too. I just had to get that in there. My biggest passion really right now is in my prenatal mediumship work and helping couples conceive. You know, I do a lot of work with fertility. I connect parents that are expecting with the souls of their incoming children, grandparents, anybody, family members. And I also do healing work with families and women that have not had their babies around for very long because of either miscarriage or abortion or stillbirth. And that's the healing work that I do.
Beautiful, wonderful. Thank you, Jill, for sharing. Look forward to hearing more. And Sandy.
Thank you. I am a mom, a daughter, a passionate entrepreneur. I am oh my goodness, what am I? I am definitely an animal lover. I am a lover of energy. I love positive people, and I love helping people correct their money stories and their stories around sales, and help them to embrace with integrity the sales process. And it is an incredible life.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And with each of you, I'm excited to dive into the space where you get to share a bit more about your story and what brings you to your work that you are bringing forth in the world so powerfully, as well as even what draws you from that space, what draws you into Empower Network TV. So I'm excited. So let's go ahead, Jennifer, and let's hear, please tell us about your story. And let's take about 3 minutes each.
Okay, well, I found myself as I was approaching 40 in a job that just was not filling my soul with joy. So I just up and left, and I moved back to the family farm in Wisconsin and started planting flowers everywhere. I love flowers. I love to be in nature. It grounds me. And one day I took my mother on a blueberry picking adventure. And on the way home, we stopped by this little country church, and it had just been sold. It's sort of vacant for years. And I said, "Hello, I'm Jennifer." And that is how I met the boy next door, like Michael Bichanich. And 2 years later, we were married in that same church. And it was really a dream come true. I was a first-time bride at 43, and we were living the dream. And one of my dreams was to have more events at that little church. It was a 130-year-old historic building. And the night before my nephew's wedding, I was out running an errand, and I got an urgent call from my sister saying that the church was on fire and my husband was trapped inside. And I hurried back, and it was too late. It was surrounded by squad cars, firemen, and I stood in a blooming hayfield across the road, and it just felt so surreal. And there was nothing I could do. I wanted to vomit. I couldn't talk. I couldn't breathe. And it was like my whole world came crashing down. All the dreams I had for my future, it's like this huge brick wall went up around me, entombing my soul. And day after day, I would go after the fire and dig through the ashes looking for the life that I knew. And obviously I couldn't find it. And every night I'd go back to my mother's home and lay on my bed and stare at the ceiling, praying for the pain to end. And it wasn't so much that I had a death wish, but I had no life wish. I had no desire to really do anything, no joy. And one day, 79 days after the fight, when I was staring at the ceiling, I had a vision. And in this vision, this purple piece of paper unfolded before my eyes, and it said, "Jennifer, you have to try." And that was the moment I got up off my bed and I wrote a note that said, "I am loved," and I stuck it on my mirror because I knew that even if I couldn't feel it at the time, that it was true, that I was loved. And that was my hope, to feel more love. And I kept writing notes. I believe, I receive, I forgive. God has great plans. And that was a turning point in my life. And I discovered that I am resilient. I discovered that I am a dreamer, that I can interpret dreams and help other people interpret dreams. I discovered I have a calling for using my voice as a public speaker to help people, to help facilitate deep level healing. And I discovered that that fire that could have destroyed me had become my greatest teacher. And so now it's my purpose, my passion to help others come back from the ashes and live a life of beauty. Because the way I see it, chaos is the beginning of creation. And we have so many opportunities to create beauty, but also when something like that happens, to have deep, deep level healing. So that is what I am felt called to do now for my calling to help others around the world.
Wow. I'm just getting just those shivers as I listen. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
It really strikes me that, that coming from the ashes, and it's powerful.
And you know, at that moment, I couldn't imagine anything else. It was just this huge wall, this literally a dead end. Mm-hmm. And now I just stand in awe and amazement that here I am. I'm on the Empower TV network talking with women around the world and men around the world. It's just, it amazes me. I stand in awe and gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And your comment about, going back into the church and sorting through the ashes to try to find that life you had known. I suspect that that's something that's quite common for people, that as you work with them, that sense of trying to regain or to go back to that sense of how to recapture, or that grieving process. Is that something that is very familiar, common?
Yeah. At first for me, it was this journey of search and recovery. I was trying to recover what I had. But when I opened up my heart to love, that's when it turned into one of search and discovery. And I just started discovering all these gifts around me and all this beauty. And yes, I mourned the loss of my husband in that building. I had deep, deep mourning. And once I had worked through a lot of that, I was able to face the grief that I carried for 40 years from losing my father as a child. So there was, I started to see gifts that were coming through this journey. They were huge gifts.
Beautiful. Thank you. What I would like to incorporate into our interview time together as we're here, and that this web that is connected and connecting all of us, is what I'm inviting each of you to do as it goes from speaker to speaker, is to pick up a thread, if you will, of something that the person before you shared, and carry that. And it might be just something that's, I can relate to this, or something like that, as a thread that brings into your, because I think it's sort of this idea that we each have our stories and they're kind of separate, and yet there's this tapestry that we all come together to make through the threads of who we are. So I just really want to honor those threads as we go forward. So Jill, if you would please share.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Yes, tragedy and sudden loss, that is such a powerful, it can be such a powerful gift. And I, at 30, my dad, my best friend, raised me. Mom kind of was out of the picture when I was 5, and I was always with my dad. He raised me. He was my best friend. We talked every day. And when I was almost 30, I lost him to a head-on drunk driver accident. And Jennifer speaks to the healing of just knowing things are in order. And, years later, I was able actually to honor the man that hit him, who also died, and his sacrifice as well in all of our lives and all of our paths. And after that happened, all I wanted was to be closer to death in any way, shape, or form. I just wanted to understand it, because I felt like if I was closer to death, I was closer to him. And so I became a hospice volunteer. And through that work, I decided I was going to be a death midwife, helping souls transition to the other side when their life was over. And I was in training, and I was learning and taking my psychic development classes and my mediumship classes. And my teacher said the words prenatal mediumship. And when she did, my whole body just started tingling and lit up. And I was shown a vision of me actually doing this work in another life in Africa.
Wow.
I saw my teacher. I saw it all. And that life was cut short. So I didn't really get to finish it out. So I think I understand my calling to do it now. And not long after that, I was taking a class in the back of a spiritual bookstore about death. And I tried on my new title. We all introduced ourselves. There were about 7 of us. And I said, I'm a prenatal medium. And it kind of, a little buzz went through the group. And one of the men asked, when does the soul attach to the body? And I didn't have an answer. So I tapped in. And in that dingy little room in the back of that bookstore, in that cold, hard metal chair, I was shown the beauty of how a life begins.
Wow.
At conception, and the silver thread that's connected between the body and the soul. And that thread stays intact until death, whenever that might be. And not long after that, I was given the opportunity to go to Africa. Wow. And I just knew that my teacher was there having another life of her own. And I had high hopes that there would be some kind of connection with somebody while I was there. And the whole week went by. Nothing, not a glimmer. I mean, it was an amazing week. We did amazing things. And on the very last day, our bus pulls into our last stop. We're visiting a hospital. And I step out into the dirt parking lot, and our group is ushered into this outdoor corridor, and up walks Sister Angela. She's the administrator of the hospital. And I knew, I had that recognition in her that this was her. And I said to my friend, that's her. She knew what I was hoping for. And I gave her a hug, and it didn't even feel like I thought it would feel like. It was just calm and right. And we were released to go explore the hospital. And I'm drawn to the back of the hospital, and there's a tiny little building. It says morgue. There's a little sign on it, or not morgue. The morgue was in the front. It says maternity. And curiosity is just screaming inside of me, but I wouldn't just go in without an invitation. And it's like she heard me. So Sister Angela comes walking up, and she just pushes me It says, go in. And then she walked away. So I went in, and the nurse let us know that the women on the right side of the room were having babies or had their babies, and the women on the left side of the room had lost their babies or were in the process of losing their babies. And as we made our way, there was a woman there showing off her newborn. And as we turned the corner at the end, there's a woman standing on the second bed, and our eyes met. And I had this immediate understanding that whether a soul has a life for a few weeks in utero or for 90 years on the planet, they've had a full and complete life. And I made eye contact with this woman, and she smiles, a big smile at me. And I just knew that she knew too. And we're about to leave, and I decided to say goodbye to Sister Angela. I didn't think she had any recognition of me. And that was okay. I gave her a big hug, and she looks me in the eye and says, we will meet again.
Wow.
My heart just sang. I'm like, I think she recognizes me too, or at least a little inkling of it. And that's really where this whole journey began for me with prenatal mediumship. That was years ago. And I've just been blessed with so many amazing experiences. And I just think that through this work, we're going to create happier, more secure, more held infants and children. And through that, we will have more secure, held, happier adults on the planet. That's why I do what I do.
Wow, I can hear the tingles and just that soul recognition of powerful. Thank you so much, Jill. All right, Sandy, please share.
Wow. I'm so grateful that I get to go third because I got to experience your stories. Jennifer, I definitely have spent a little bit of time with you and your story. And Coach Jill, I just love you to pieces and pieces. I haven't been present inside of that community, but I certainly feel connected and blessed. My thread that I see is the opportunity that we all have in death to heal life. And my story is my childhood. From birth, my mom told the world that I was the ugliest baby ever, and my brothers were perfect. And so my story was I was not worthy. I was lucky if anybody even spoke to me, because heaven knows I was so ugly. And as I grew, I was very blessed with a grateful heart and a servant heart. And that came from that pain, I'm thinking, because, you better be grateful because I don't know. And so I had no idea that I was in any pain whatsoever. I was this pretty happy kid. And at 9 years old, my mom, who worked 2 jobs our whole lives and supported our dreamer, beautiful dad, love him unbelievably. He has an adventure life, and we all got to experience that with him. But mom carried the stress and the burden. So she became depressed. She drank, she cried. She told us how much she hated money. And my brother and I, this one day, soaked my mom's bleeding feet that she had picked raw in Epsom salts. And she cried and completely melted down. I hate money. Greedy people and churches and governments, and they hold control, and this story. And then shortly after that, my brother both got paper routes, and then I was babysitting and giving my mom money. And so my money story was forming through this, and the entrepreneurial part of me was also forming of you have to work harder. And zoom forward, my parents lost their life savings on their home and blamed the realtors. And So when at 26, I announced that I was going to be a real estate agent, my father said, couldn't you just be a prostitute and give us something to be proud of? And I set out to prove to him and the world that sales and integrity really could be in the same sentence. And I almost killed myself, literally put myself into medical distress, working super hard. And since then, I have gotten to recognize that some people really do have the wrong story around sales. And there is a beautiful, heart-centered, integral way to connect people with their dreams without being salesy. But how many heart-centered entrepreneurs have a story that sales is a dirty word? And I've seen it in my spiritual coaches, and it's incredible that is very, very common. And so my mission is to change 1 million stories and to take dirty out of the word sales. And I'm here in the Empowered Network thanks to you, because of the beautiful human that you are, and the communities that have been built. And I am super curious to get to experience what is. I have watched some interviews that have blown my mind, and I'm like, wow, this is phenomenal. And I see the thread, and I'm so grateful to be part of it. Thank you. And I'm so sorry that I have to leave. That was something that I just couldn't reschedule. So
yeah, thank you. And as I said, and thank you for sharing your powerful story. And again, the tingles. So it's just really, there's the power of it. So thank you so much for sharing yours. And as I said, that there was, it felt very important, I'll use that word, for you to be here as well. And I know that you need to sign off. So as we continue this thread, what I'm feeling to do is, and I'm so blessed that you are here, that each of you are here. It's beautiful. And as we've heard your stories, to sort of those jaw-dropping things of, wow, that this is what these people have gone through, and have literally rising from the ashes and supporting other people and rising through the ashes and through our stories. It's like, how powerful is this? And I love this. So Sandy, what I'm feeling to invite you to do as you sign out is for you to just tune in as you continue the thread, is just to see what word arises that you get to share with Jill, and a word with Jennifer that will be the thread that you leave as we continue our conversation. That somehow, whether they speak it, however it is, I'm trusting that. So if you could just leave a word for them, and then we will bless you on your meeting as you go to that, and know that you are still a part of this circle as we continue to share.
Mm. So you'd like me to share a word now?
Just whatever word. It might be one word or a phrase, but it's a word.
Connection. It's very much, I feel that connection is, it's the word, definitely. And gratitude, of course. So thank you so much. And I will watch the replay to see where you go, and I will stay connected. Thank you.
Okay, talk soon, Sandy. So glad you're here.
Thank you for being here. It was so good to see you.
Give a moment for each to sign off to each other. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so as we, and certainly connection is a word that, and gratitude, certainly they come up in the Empower Network. So what I would like to invite each of you to do is, again, going through our now it's this flow back and forth like a wave, right? Sort of that going back and forth beautifully. And I invite you into not just necessarily these containers that we have as, okay, it's your turn and now it's your turn. When I taught my elementary school class, I had students that we would sit around, oftentimes the kids sit on the carpet, and they look at the teacher and they're there. And for me, I just recognized that they continue to see me as the authority. And even back then, 20 years ago, it felt really important to support them in feeling empowered and to know their voice, tune into their bodies. And so I said, okay, kids, what we're going to do, we're going to sit around the carpet in the circle. And I gave them, in terms of letting them practice to learn a new skill, is I said, we're going to sit here, and it would be maybe come back from Easter holidays or something, as a Christmas holiday, sometime when we're just back and connecting again. And I said, here's our prompt, our question, or something that you want to share, something that you maybe enjoyed, that you really enjoyed doing when you were away on holidays. And I said, I'm going to be sitting here. I'm going to have my eyes, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm still listening. What I want you to do is to start to really listen to each other. Instead of looking to me and telling me your stories, you're going to talk to each other. And you're also going to tune in. There might be a time where one of you starts to talk and so does somebody else. And then to just really listen to your body and to find out, is it your time to speak forward, or is it your time to step back into that place? And to know that when it's time for you to talk again, if it's not then, you'll know when it's time to talk. And so we did this, and it was just literally like being witness to this miracle, this community that was forming with these little people. And that's what I want to invite to you, that even though right now we're seeing cameras and we're not sitting around the circle, I want us all, even those people who are listening to us live and those people who are watching the replay, is to be around the circle and listening to each other. And even those people that are listening, might be, oh, I want to have my voice heard, and we'll type into a comment, however that is, but that we are this circle that is connected. And so I want to invite you into this circle where this conversation happens, where we listen to each other. And I will give a prompt, and we'll just sort of be there and just let the conversation, as life and love flows through our expression here in our communication. So using those words of connection and gratitude that Sandy left as the thread, I invite you to share what it was that drew you to Empower Network TV, and how you are seeing that it can support you in living your vision, what that community is in terms of your voice, your mission, you living to your fullest and giving your gifts.
Well, I definitely was attracted to it through you, Lorna, and I saw your interview when you were doing the recent one about, I think it was recent, about the sex interview with the four of you, and it was such a powerful interview. That was immediately what piqued my interest and said, oh, this is a community I definitely want to be in and be a part of. If I get to watch things like this is cool. And I was so drawn to everybody there. And then it was the next day that I think that there was a post about being interviewed. And I'm like, oh, well, if I can play with Lorna some more, that sounds like fun. I want to come on and be interviewed. So, and then in the meantime, because I committed, I poked around in the community some more and just had so much fun watching Amos. There's something about him. There's a familiarity. I mean, unless he's changed his name, because I've never known anyone by that name, but I'm watching him and through all of these interviews thinking to myself, I know this person. So talk about connection and recognition in another soul. I just feel so connected. And as far as me and the experience, my whole business is just one big faith-based, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I know my mission. I know the message that I want to get out there. And however it happens is just, I'm guided to how it happens. And if this can be a big part of that, what an amazing community, and getting to be in service. And that's where my gratitude lies, is one more opportunity to make connection and to learn and to teach and just to rise up together.
Yeah, I'm like you, Jill. I was drawn in by Lorna, who I have known through our speaking group. And I see she's somebody I respect, and I've heard her message, but I also feel her presence, and it's so calming. And your voice, Lorna, oh my gosh, it's just like, it's like butter. It's like, oh, it's beautiful. And that connection is so powerful, and really that love is the key to connection. And I've seen that from the people I've heard here today, and also on the interview that you shared with me, Lorna. And that spirituality was so present there in that interview. And like Jill said, it's that faith that is like just showing up. And you asked how this will help us in getting out our message. I'm going to say, I don't know exactly how, but I know that when a door opens, I'm going to say, okay, yep, I'm going through. I have learned to do that. And in that interview, somebody else had mentioned how you take the step and then the next step shows up, and then the next step. So that's what I am doing here today. I'm taking a step and then another step. And in listening to Amos earlier in that interview, what resonated with me is he said that he kept looking for his purpose, his bliss, and he'd do one thing and think that's it, but it wasn't, and it would be something. But now he's found it, and I feel that's where I'm at in my life too. Like I've been collecting things along the way, and now it's this beautiful mosaic that I'm putting together. So I appreciate that he had shared that as well. And somebody else said too that they had felt like outsiders, and I felt like that in my life too. Like I went to college and my roommate's going to be an attorney, and this person's going to be an accountant, and that person's going to do this. I'm like, I'm a history major. I'm going to sell shoes for 15 years because, that's my calling. But it really, I can see now that was part of my calling, to sell shoes for 15 years, because I learned how to talk to strangers, and I loved serving people and helping them. And I got so many skills from that job. And I believe every job we've had or hobby is bringing us to this point right now where we're at, and to help other people.
Beautiful. You've each spoken about your vision and your mission, and can just pause for a moment. Just feels like there's a question that's rising. I'm just going to give it time to come. If you could create a world from the inside out, what would it look like and what would it feel like? And I'm going to change those around. What would it feel like and what would it look like?
I would say for me, it would feel like walking on sunshine. When you're in the flow, it's lifting and it's light and airy, and your heart sings. That's what it feel like for me. Like there's a feeling you get when this is it, this is right. And what would it look like? It would be so many colors. And for me, it's flowers. There's always flowers. And it would sound like children laughing and giggling. That joy of the youthful spirit when they don't have all those filters on them. It's that pure childlike joy and amazement at the world around you.
I'll take that thread of sunshine, and because I thought, okay, what would it feel like? It would feel like when the sun hits your face, like when the cloud goes and then the sun hits your face. And it would feel like that moment when something's going on and you realize everything's going to be okay. It's like when my dad and my stepmom were in the accident and we got to Minnesota, I sat down at the table with her like 2 days after the accident, and she looked at me and she said, well, we're toast. And it was in that moment, in that lightness of what she said, that I thought, okay, everything's going to be okay. We're going to figure out how to get through this together. And what would it look like? To me, it would look like a circle, because I feel like we leave life and we come back, and we leave and we come back. And if we could all really see that circle, the grief would lighten, and we'd be able to spend more time in the sunny places.
Yeah.
We'd still hurt, but we would understand the process and the circle. We would see the circle. It would become more clear to us, and we could be sunny more.
And Jill, when you spoke of the circle, so that sunshine and the circle, and when you think of sunshine, right, that's that circle that happens, right? The sunshine, we see it, and then it's the moon, and then so that circular piece. And Jill, then you talked about seeing that circle, and it brought to mind for me when I shared when I was doing my academy, my teaching in the class yesterday, about breath and about when we think about life, we come into this human experience and we talk about our life. It starts with that first breath, right? When the baby takes that first breath, that sense of that, and then till our last breath. So how much that breath is so central in this, the circular breath, the circle of breath. And so I'm going to put that in as the thread for you to share now whatever you feel moved to share about anything. Just as you listen in, what is it you would like to share in this space? And I'm going to use an analogy that I've used before, is that my former husband shared about a fire. He said, we're like a fire. He said, you're the flame and I'm the rocks. And at that time, I thought it was him trying to control me, this free spirit that was wanting to live. And what he was saying in those words, what I've come to understand is that container that holds so that energy can really rise to be there. So in this container that is here being held for you to be able to share whatever energy, whatever flame is there for you to share.
I'll talk about breath, taking that thread. Breath is difficult for me. I've never loved breathing exercises, deep breathing exercises. I'm more comfortable in the in-between. When we talk about let's have that circle of in and out and in and out, I get very uncomfortable. And when I get to stop breathing, I get the most comfortable. I actually had an out-of-body experience where after a breathing exercise, I stopped breathing for a little while, and then I came back. And I think that in between just is a place where I've always lived. And the more grounded and the more comfortable I get being a human being, the more powerful my work becomes. And now I'm finally able to enjoy breathing exercises and getting more connected to how connected we are to our breath and how powerful it is and how much good we can do when we're breathing freely and easily. That's just what I was inspired to share, talking about breath. It's such a thing. It's such a different thing for every person.
Well, when you brought up the fire, obviously fire is a very strong image for me. And I've reached the point, I believe, where I have embraced the fire. As I said earlier, I'm a dreamer, and I write things in my notes and forget I even wrote them. I wake up, write it down, and look at it a few days later. It's like, oh, I forgot about that. And one thing that I kept seeing in my notes was fire is meant to illuminate, not consume. And so often we fear the fire that is ourselves. But if we really step into our own fire, our own purpose, our own light, we help others step into their light and to heal. And it can be so powerful. And when others are energized, it spreads. It spreads like wildfire. You know, I'm having a great day. I go to the grocery store. I'm nice to that cashier and ask her how she's doing. And the next person that comes through, that cashier is nicer too. It's so beautiful to see people healing and finding that inner joy. And there's always going to be things that we come up against that are going to be challenging, but we have a new strength and a new view of it. Jill mentioned the circle. It's like we've come back around with new tools and new strengths and new superpowers. So it's going to look a lot different next time we come around on that circle.
Wow.
So powerful. It's going to look different the next time we come around that circle. That's a quote right there. That's beautiful, Jennifer.
Beautiful. Just going to invite you to just feel in for a moment, just to feel into your body. And from whatever awareness is there, I just want to create this space, this container of about 3-4 minutes each. And sometimes I know I have resisted time. And yet time in our human experience can be that container, that masculine that holds and allows that fire to burn even more powerfully. So I'm just going to, the space is open for you to share whatever about anything, whatever is within you that wants to be expressed. Our time for you to be able to, in the last few minutes of our interview time together, what it is that wants to be expressed. It might not be about being for anybody else. It might be just what wants to be expressed through you in this moment.
Well, I missed part of Jill's story because my computer cut out, but I did catch the part where she talks about being a prenatal medium and that connection and helping people and realizing that whether they lived a short time or 90 years, that their life was complete and full. That is so beautiful and so powerful. And I believe we need more of that understanding amongst people so that they can move forward. There was a point in my grief journey following the fire of my husband's death where I realized I was standing by my wash machine, and it was about 9 months after the fire, and I thought, I don't have to be Blake anymore. And I realized this was no longer about him. This was about me. And how am I going to respond? What is my opportunity to learn here about myself? And just being open to the lessons is powerful, and receiving the lessons, but also surrendering what no longer serves us and forgiving is so powerful. And that was a huge part of my lesson through this whole journey, was forgiveness and letting go. And I was brought up to forgive people. I was taught the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. But I still was having a really, really tough time letting stuff go, waking up every morning with anger over how some people had treated me. And it was when I worked with somebody else that gave me the tools I needed to transform that anger and forgive and thank them for the lesson, that I felt more whole. I woke up the next day and I felt like there was more of me here. And when there's more of me here and present, I get to experience so many more gifts and create so much more. And it brings me joy. And I have so much gratitude for this journey that I'm on, and for these people that I have met. And again, I stand in awe, and I thank you for this opportunity to be here, for inviting us, Lorna, for creating this container, Amos, and Jill, for sharing your story. And I want to hear more about the work you're doing, because when people learn that, you know, that those our loved ones made their mark and they're never really gone. They don't leave. It's just that I believe our eyes open up that they're here and we receive. And it's just such a beautiful thing.
I just love listening to you talk. You said that about Lorna, and I understand what you're saying about Lorna's voice. It is so true. But in you too, and with your, and your eyes are just such amazing windows I can tell so much wisdom, and what a neat connection here that we're getting to have. What do I share in just a couple of minutes? I'm being called to just, as we're on this thread of the length of a life doesn't change its value or how complete the life was, along those lines, maybe just tell a story or two really quickly about what I've learned when souls do come and they don't stay through to birth. They're only here for a little while. And I've worked with women that, have had miscarriages for healing, and I've just been so opened when I've made connections with these souls. And one mama was just about to give birth to his baby sister. She was 8 months pregnant, and she said, "Can you tell me why he didn't stay?" And he said, "I never planned on staying. I came to heal her body so that she could have my sister." Because when a baby is in utero, there's this amazing connection that's made, and healing can happen. Like, we can do hands-on healing, but imagine the power of healing when you're connected. Body, your body and the blood and everything. And along those same lines, I had another woman who had had a miscarriage, and the soul that came through said, "I have never been born on planet Earth. I never have any intention of being born on planet Earth. I needed to impart wisdom and knowledge to my mother, and I could have been one of her guides, but I decided it was quicker and easier to be in her body and to download through being in her body. I was able to quickly download the knowledge that she needed, that she would use later in her life. And then I left."
Wow. I just have like full body goosebumps, Jill. Thank you for sharing those stories. They're powerful.
Yeah.
And so often,
No, you go.
It just seems like so often the women that have had miscarriages grieve in silence. And people may say, well, the baby wasn't born, but you said the value. And I think that's really key, that value, that experience. It's just beautiful.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Sandy, for being here, for bringing your voice, your story, your experience, your presence, your breath to our time together today. And I'm just so grateful and honored, and an honor to be able to introduce you to the community and let your voice be heard. And so I thank you for being here, and look forward to continuing this beautiful connection, and blessings on this. As our time comes together, thank you again, Amos, for creating this space for us to share, to let voices be honored, lives be honored. And we'll close our time together, and just want to give you two just an opportunity just to say goodbye and to close out with each other. And for now, on this screen, and then so we'll just let you give that, and then Amos will be signing out. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lorna. Thank you, Jennifer and Sandy. This has been wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Lorna and Jill and Sandy and Amos, for this opportunity. It's very energizing. Yeah. Very, very energizing, empowering, I think is the word. Thank you. And it's exciting to meet more people that you have this connection with. It's so exciting. And this is really what changes the world. It's this soul to soul connection.
Yes. Thank you.